All right, so we've got this from the world of comics. Amazon's digital comic platform, Comixology, reportedly lays off employees. Now, this article coming to us from GeekWire. Amazon has laid off employees as Comixology service, according to reports from former workers. It says down here that the layoffs are expected to, or the staff is expected to be reduced by as much as 75%, which is huge. And so, yeah, this is pretty much... we're watching the end of Comixology, which was the industry's number one online comic book store. So a lot of people are online, and they're kind of saying, well, this is it. This is evidence that the comics industry is in utter and total collapse. It's on its deathbed. Call its loved ones, say your goodbyes. But, and I'm not saying this doesn't mean the comics industry is not unhealthy, because it most certainly is. But I kind of have a different take on it, which is not long ago, Comixology was bought by Amazon. Well, by not long ago, it's been a few years. But Comixology was bought by Amazon. Now, when Comixology was purchased by Amazon, it was actually a really, really good service. I used to use it a lot. In fact, for me personally, what I started doing was I had to trim back for storage and space purposes how many comics did I buy, because I just only have so much room in my house. And so I decided I was only going to collect comic books physically that are part of titles that I collect, Amazing Spider-Man, whatever that is. Those are the ones I'm actually going to buy. But if there was a story I wanted to read that was going on in another title, or if maybe one of the series that I collect was crossing over to another series that I didn't, I would usually buy those digitally unless I thought they were going to be worth some money down the road. And that way, I could still read the stories and keep up with what was going on, but at the same time, I didn't have to impact my collection, the size of my house that my collection takes up. But Amazon came along and bought it and absolutely destroyed Comixology. I mean, I don't know who it's like they bought it and put the least qualified person in charge of running it. The website became unusable. The platform was terrible. Rather than having a space where you could go see all the new releases for that week, it would taper down to just like a couple of selections by the Amazon staff who they wanted to promote. You couldn't actively see a new released comic that wasn't promoted unless you searched for it. So if you didn't know a book had come out that week and just looked at the new releases and didn't think to look for it, you would never know that book came out. Their back catalog got terrible. The Amazon the Amazon subscription service was just rank. Everything about it was terrible. And even that's just from a consumer's point of view. I actually was selling my comic on Comixology when I first started doing this. And I would put out a book every 3 months. I would put it up on Comixology. I'd usually get a notification about a week later with a release date. I'd promote it. And when my book would come out, it would be right in there with the new releases alongside the latest Marvel, DC, Image, Dark Horse, all the rest. I mean, it was all very equal. My sales were not great, but they were okay. And but it was a way for me to get my book out there, and it was the biggest digital comic book store in the world. It was the biggest online comic book store you could get. So for an indie creator like myself, that was huge. Amazon took over immediately. I was told I had to completely reapply. The process was taking forever. I just gave up. It wasn't worth it. It was too confusing. And one of the other things that it did was Comixology had this really innovative way where you could read the comics. You could read it normally by just kind of flipping through the pages, like swiping on your phone or tablet, whatever you're reading them on. Or you could have this guided reading thing where it would actually walk you through, kind of take you through the panels a little bit more cinematically, almost like a slideshow. And I thought that was cool. I really liked it. And Comixology, when I went to submit my book to put it back on after Amazon had purchased it, rather than doing that service for me, which Comixology had done for all the books leading up to that, what they were doing was they sent me the program for me to do it myself. I have no idea how to work this program. I had zero clue that's why I gave up on it. So if you're an indie creator, they made it as hard as possible to put your book on Comixology. You were not going to be promoting yourself there any longer. It was not a friendly place for you to be. Just like if you're an indie author trying to put your book on Amazon, it is outrageously hard to get. It's easy to get on there. It's hard to get noticed. And that was kind of the model they wanted to go with Comixology, which was it may be easy to put your book on the platform, even though they'd made it considerably harder, but it was almost impossible for you to get noticed. It really, really was. So Amazon took what I thought was a really great idea, really great platform. They bought it, and then they just ran this sucker into the ground. I mean, they just killed it, stomped on it, and left it for dead. And now they're just laying it off. And it's really a pity. It really is. And I just want, my thing on this is I don't want the narrative to shift to, oh, well, it's just the comics industry. It would have done perfectly fine if Western comics were doing fine. No. This was killed by a big corporate entity buying something that they did not know how to run, and then for some reason, instead of just making it part of their platform and letting it carry on, they decided they needed to get their hands in it. They needed to change it. They needed to quote unquote fix it or do something to it. And what they ended up with was just this abstract monster, shallow, barely of shadow of its former self that they put out to users. And what of just a absolute masterclass in corporate incompetence. I think a little bit of greed. I think a lot of hubris for buying something that they thought they could improve, but really probably didn't understand to begin with. And now, as a result, something that was really great for fans is now just gone. And yes, while this I don't say is necessarily a signal that the comic book industry is sicker than people say. I mean, it is, but this is an indication of that. But this is something that hurts it. This is not something that's good for the comic book industry to lose Comixology. I'll just say it. Comixology was fun. I mean, there's a lot of people, even if you weren't a regular user of Comixology, there were a lot of people who would find themselves stuck somewhere, airport, a long trip, stuck at the DMV, and you could bring up Comixology. They always had a bunch of free books or books that they'd put up for 99 cents, even graphic novels, and you could buy them and at least have something to read. I did that more times than I can count, and that all stopped once Amazon bought it and absolutely destroyed it. So, way to go, Amazon. You are a terrible company in every sense of the word, and you wrecked something that we all really like. And now, not just the impact that it has on fans and the comics industry, but, a lot of people are losing their jobs, and that sucks. 75% of their staff, I'm sure, is not an insignificant number. And not only that, but the people that are left there are left with this impossible task of basically trying to do 3 times the workload that they had before to keep this thing up and running for maybe a couple more months until it finally just shuts down, because we can't have nice things because of people like Amazon. But I just wanted to talk about it and put my own perspective on there. So what do you guys think? Were you users of the Comixology platform at all? If you were, were you a user before and after Amazon, or did you pick it up after, or when Amazon bought it and you saw what they did you abandon it? Let's talk about it in the comments below. While you're down there, do all the usual stuff. Hit like, subscribe to the channel if you're not already a subscriber. I would love to have you here. And that's going to be it for today, I think. I will talk to you on the next video. Bye.